Happy Monday, folks. We are in the final week of preseason, week 3 for the Detroit Lions. Super exciting as the NFL season is literally right around the corner. Lions will be facing off against the Kansas City Chiefs. But before we do that, we do got to get this game done Friday night. It is the last one, and that means there's going to be players trying to make the roster. In this video, we're doing a reaction to Kyle Meinke Mlive, his 53-man roster projection after OTA's minicamp in the first 2 weeks of preseason. Let's go. Haven't seen the list, folks, so I don't even know who's on here, so you're watching at the same time I am. We're going to go over what beat writer Mlive, Kyle Meinke, believes that the Lions will do with their 53-man roster. It's going to go through everybody. We're going to say, do we agree? Do we disagree? Is it good? Is it bad? Because what do they think? They're right there with the team quite a bit. They're at the news media every single day of training camp, and they have an idea of what the personnel is. So it's pretty good to look at some of these guys to see what they truly believe with these players. But hey, we can critique. Why? Because that's what we do. So we're going to get into that. But before we get into today's video, if you are not a subscriber to Lions Nation Unite, we're trying to get to 8,000 subscribers. We're 300 away. We got a lot of sweet interviews coming up. Robert Porcher on Thursday will be here, and a really special guest, formerly of the WWE and WCW, will be on here as well to talk some football, as well as talk a little bit about his career and some of the things that went on in his life, because I think it's quite interesting. So get that done right now. Let's go over this 53-man roster projection. They got 3 quarterbacks here. Jared Goff, Teddy Bridgewater, Nate Sudfeld, Adrian Martinez out, Hendon Hooker injured, Sudfeld in is his change. So I would assume that Adrian Martinez go ahead and go in the practice squad, and Hendon Hooker on one of those lists, and Sudfeld is in there. Preferably, I'm going 2 quarterbacks in this situation. I'm cutting Nate Sudfeld. I've had enough of watching Nate Sudfeld. It doesn't bring anything to me that's relevant to the game. And I would rather, in all honesty, have an Adrian Martinez on the practice squad waiting. Or they can throw Nate Sudfeld on the practice squad, because I don't think anybody is going to go ahead and claim Nate Sudfeld after the performance that he has put on. He doesn't bring anything to the Lions, and to me, it's just wasting a roster spot. I'd rather go 2 quarterbacks and have a player who deserves to be on the roster, maybe an extra edge rusher or defensive lineman, than somebody who is a quarterback that's not getting it done for the Lions. We all know Hendon Hooker is eventually going to be the guy. Teddy Bridgewater is the backup right now. That's the way that I'm seeing it. So look, he may be correct, but I'm going to disagree here. There's just no way this guy should be deserving of the roster. He's been inept the whole game, and he's the reason why this offense has been absolutely cheeks. Well, one of the reasons, obviously, the offensive line has been a big reason as well. So he's going through his description. He just believes that Hooker comes off the injured list, and then Sudfeld's not on for long, in which if he initially does make the roster, that is 100% the case. So if Sudfeld makes the roster, it's only a matter of time before he's cut. Running backs 4, they got David Montgomery, agree. Jahmyr Gibbs, agree. Craig Reynolds, agree. And Jason Cabinda, I completely disagree there. Jason Cabinda has not done anything in this preseason game that's warranted for him to make the roster. He's dropped 2 vital passes so far in preseason. We're not necessarily needing a fullback anymore for this football team. I feel like he's worn out his welcome in Detroit. I understand the coaching staff absolutely loves this guy. I get it, but he brings nothing right now that somebody else does not bring here. They got Jamar Jefferson, Devin Ozigbo, and Benny Snell out. For me, I'm going to switch out Jason Cabinda, and it's going to be between Benny Snell and Jamar Jefferson. That's what I got there. I would prefer Benny Snell. He's more of a bruiser, in my opinion. I think that's something that's important that the Detroit Lions could need. He has more of an upside, in my opinion, over Jamar Jefferson. But, that's my personal preference. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think that Kabinda should be on there. Maybe you think Jamar Jefferson should be on there. Mo Ibrahim's injured. That's why he's not even on the list right here. Let's continue on here. Wide receivers. He's got Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, Marvin Jones, Chase Cota. 100% agree. I absolutely think this is what it should be, and it's obviously J-Mo on an injury list for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers. I think they'll initially go with 6 on the list. It could be another individual. I don't think it's going to be Drummond. I don't think it's going to be Trinity Benson, Jason Moore, Avery Davis. I think it's going to be between Antoine Green and Maurice Alexander. If they're going to go 6 on the list, I think that's the best way to go, in my opinion. But I do agree that Chase Cota makes the roster. He's deserving. He's done everything he possibly could, and he'd be a good reserve wide receiver for the Lions. I know that Dylan Drummond had all the love coming into preseason, but he hasn't shown enough, in my opinion, warranting a roster spot. Yes, he's fast, but he drops footballs. I don't care about speed. You got to catch a football. My personal opinion there. So let me know in the comment section. Do you think that the Lions go 5 receivers or 6? I'm going to go with 6. What do you think, 5 or 6? Let me know in the comments below. Let's continue on here. He's breaking it down. Don't really need to do that. Let's see, tight ends. Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, James Mitchell out. Daniel Helm and Daryl Daniel, 100%. There is no problem here. That is exactly what the 3 is going to be. I don't think anybody on planet Earth disagrees with this one. Sam Laporta is your starter. Brock Wright is a backup, and James Mitchell's done a phenomenal job so far in preseason. And he's probably end up being number 2 the way he's been playing. There's no reason to have another tight end on this roster. Those 3 are perfectly fine. Let's continue your offensive linemen. They got Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, Penei Sewell, Big V. Okay, perfectly fine with all that. Colby Sorsdale, and obviously Kawad Awasika and Matt Nelson. That's tough. This initially what it could be, but I'm going to go ahead and put Abena Eze in front of Matt Nelson. I don't think Matt Nelson initially makes the offensive line, but it doesn't mean anything for Kawad or anything for Obina, because the Lions very well could claim a player whom gets released by other teams 53, or there could be some sort of low-end trade. I do not think those 2 are safe, even if they initially make it at all. The Lions need to upgrade the offensive line in a big way for the backup role, not for the starters. And these guys has done a poor job. Poor job, in my opinion. Lions need to go ahead and get somebody else this offensive line. Matt Nelson absolutely does not deserve a role on this football team after what I've seen so far in preseason. He has been bulldozed nearly every single play and dominated. Let's go ahead and go to the defensive line here. We got Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, Charles Harris, Joshua Pascal, Kaminsky, Broderick, Levi Muzurike making the roster here, and I'm going to agree with this one. I think Levi has made the roster. He's very close. He's got to put up another performance on Friday. But with the strides that he's made from the injury, you got to give him another chance, right? For sure. Benito Jones making it. Romeo Okwara and James Houston. Who is out? Julian Okwara. So he has Julian not making it. Right now, I think it's 50-50. He had a great preseason game 1. He had he could have had a sack preseason 2, but he also missed a big tackle that resulted in 15 yards a gain from the running back. So when it comes to Julian, it's an right now. He's 50-50, so I'm not going to get upset with him on out. That one is going to come down to the wire. Maybe they trade him. Very possible they trade him. Very possible he's not on the roster. So I'm not going to argue with this one from Kyle Menke. I think it's 50-50 at this point. We'll see what happens on Friday. If he has a piss poor, he's probably gone. If he does great, he potentially could get traded or make the roster. Okay, here. Linebackers, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jalen Reeves, Maben, Anthony Pittman. No argument. I think they all did really well. I think this is one of the most upgraded positions for the Detroit Lions this year is linebacker, and all these guys deserve to make the roster. Every single one of them. Even Anthony Pittman, he came in and made some plays the final week. No problem here at all. Pretty good depth there. We'll move on. Let's go to the secondary. This one's going to be interesting. Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, Brian Branch, Starling Thomas, Stephen Gilmore, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker. He has Will Harris on there. That is something I absolutely disagree with. Will Harris is not deserving of a roster spot, period. He has done nothing to showcase anything. If I could switch it out, I'm putting Brandon Joseph in that spot. Or Afutu Melifonwu. I'm putting one of those two in there. I'll put Chase Lucas in there. He doesn't deserve to make this roster spot at all, in my opinion. I'm pulling Will Harris out. I'm putting one of these younger guys in there. Better future for the Detroit Lions. Higher ceiling. Let's continue on here. Riley Patterson, Jack Fox, and Scott Daly for the kickers. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of field goals, so it's hard to see what Parker Roma can do. But right now, that's what I see it. Unless anything changes, that should be the special teams position. It still come down to Friday as well. I think this is one of those last things. But, yeah, I'll give Riley Patterson the edge right now. Folks, let me know what's your thoughts on the 53-man roster projection for this. Give me your thoughts. Who's in, who's out? What do you like? What do you don't like? With that said, folks, adios.